Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to New Game Plus, where I am continuing my very much ongoing journey to better both my physical and mental health and really to sort of start a new life. And last week we very much went over the sort of more generalized story of my physical health, and this week is going to be that same sort of generalized story of my mental health. And to begin, I've more or less struggled with some sort of mental issues like depression for the majority of my life. I never really thought of it much or remember even much of it really until I was in university. It was at that point I would start to get these sort of, I don't know if I'd say waves, but these sort of occasional bouts of depression that would just come out of nowhere. Sometimes, yes, sometimes they would be triggered by some sort of event that was particularly depressing, and that would, cause it to occur. But a lot of times it would just come out of nowhere. And as time went on, those sorts of out of nowhere things seemed to occur more regularly as the years went by. And when I was into my 30s, it was probably a couple of times a month that I would get into one of these sorts of moods. Now, usually they wouldn't be too bad. Just me being depressed and not really caring about much of anything for a couple of days. And it would also include some isolation. Has always been a very key part of me with these sort of bouts of depression. I'm generally fairly social. I do like to talk to people, do like to meet up with people, hang out with people, but I've always also very much been very happy and perfectly okay on my own. So kind of both an introvert and an extrovert, which has always been kind of a strange thing for me, frankly, but it's something I've always been. But in these bouts of depression, I would very much isolate myself from others. And just like how the depression seemed to come more often as the years went on, the isolation also seemed to get worse. To the point where, in these last few years, it had gotten to an extreme. Just before COVID, there were events that occurred in my life that, again, we'll probably talk about more in depth in a future episode, but that were definitely triggers for things that very much put me into a depressed mood. And then COVID came and that added to it, as it did for many people out there. That was not a great time mentally for people everywhere. And during and after COVID, things that had occurred, stuff that I had tried for, other little side jobs, side business things, that would fail on me, make me more depressed. I'd look for jobs, get just, denied from them and get more depressed. And so for the last few years, beyond just the usual bouts, there was also just this wave of things that were also occurring in my life that made it worse and worse and worse, compounding to where I found myself in this past year, where I had gotten into such a depressed state that as I think I mentioned in the first episode, I just didn't really care about anything. It wasn't too, at least to me, I didn't think it was as bad as it really was, but I mean, clearly, probably about 2 months ago now, was when my family did that intervention and showed me that it was quite bad. I like I said, got to a point where I just didn't care about anything, what was going on in the world, what was happening around me. I had isolated myself so thoroughly that I don't even think I checked my mail for months at one point, and it was just, ignoring calls because didn't care. I didn't even notice them most of the time because I would always keep my phone on silent and even turned upside down, so I didn't even see the screen because I was just ignoring everything. And just because of that, other issues compounded to put me into a place in life where, the family did have to intervene. My family did have to do that intervention, and I'm so glad they did, because I don't know where I would be right now if it wasn't for that. And thanks to them, I've been working on getting proper help. Again, generalization of how I've been doing with things is I've been seeing a proper therapist now, and which has been good, very good. I've very much liked doing that, though it has also cost me some degree of worry, because it has made me realize that I probably have a lot more that I need to work through than I originally thought. I mean, I already knew I had a list of things to work through with, you know, all the things that had occurred, that, again, we'll get into more specifics in future episodes, and just all the things that happened, all the feelings I've dealt with. But therapy has very much made me realize that there's even more, which was definitely not fun to learn, but important, because I need to work through those things, or else, I mean, how will I get better? I am also now on medication, which, I mean, I've only just started, so I don't know exactly how useful it is at the moment, but again, you know, I don't want to go back. I don't, with how everything was with my family, I don't want to put them through something like that again, nor myself. That's why I wanted to make this series, to start that new life, that new game plus. And so I, you know, going to that therapy, on medication, seeing where that's taking me, and just working on myself in general. And these videos with you guys are a part of that for me. That's very therapeutic for me to get these things out there. And again, like I've said in previous episodes, to see your guys' comments of a lot of you guys dealing with the same thing, which is always sad to hear whenever anyone else is dealing with something bad, but also, you know, it makes you at least feel a bit, I don't want to say better, but you know that there are other people out there dealing with the same thing you are, and if they can work on it, so can you. And I hope my videos do the same for some of you guys. So that's the sort of generic story of everything. Years of just building depression, just compounding upon itself to a state of extreme isolation and malaise. That's now thankfully broken and being worked on. And I've got a good feeling about it. I'm hopeful for how things are going. We'll see how it does all go and see how things progress. So, as for my side quest for this week, for this episode, our mental debuff, I actually forgot to mention this really stupid title names I've been coming up for these. But yes, our side quest for this week, considering one of the major parts of what occurred with me is isolation, I wanted to force myself out there. I called it leveling up charisma, but I don't know how much charismatic I'll be at it. But what I want to do is just get out there, and there's a brewery nearby me that I'd like to just go there for a drink. Maybe chat with the bartender a bit. Maybe might strike up a conversation with someone else there, having a flight of beer, trying things out. I have actually been to this brewery with family, but I think it's important for me, in that isolation that I had put myself through for so long, to do it myself. And so that's my side quest for this week. Go up there to a very public place, you know, have a drink, try and strike up a conversation with someone. I don't know how that short will be, because, you know, I don't want to be sitting there with my phone in someone's face going, oh, hi. So yeah, I'll have to figure that out, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good thing to help with that isolation. I'm also hopeful, it's not a side quest, but a hopeful thing. The new community I've moved into does like regular social things. I just missed one when I moved in, so I'm looking forward to when those come about, because again, I think that'll be good to get me out of that isolation. So that's well what I got for this new Game Plus here today. You know, my story of my mental health, at least a generalized version of it. My new side quest for the week, which I think should be obtainable, and I hope whatever side quest you give yourself, if you are, you know, coming along with me on this journey, as I do know some of you guys are that have messaged me. Set a side quest up for yourself too, and hopefully we'll all have it completed by the end of the week. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one today. Next week we'll be back to physical health. I think, oh god, I don't remember. I'm trying to look down at my list of things down at the bottom of the screen, but I can't actually see next week's one. I think I start talking about diet, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully you have continued to enjoy this journey of mine and come along with me. And I will see you in the next episode. Later.